Dear listeners and viewers of Khabar Hub and Candid Radio, Namaste and good afternoon. Welcome to the special interview with His Excellency François Xavier Léger, French Ambassador to Nepal. His Excellency François Xavier Léger joined as Ambassador to Nepal in September 2018. Now he is moving to his next assignment after completing his tenure here in Nepal. Today we are discussing with him Nepal's bilateral relation with France and his experience here in Nepal. Excellency, welcome to Khabar Hub and thank you very much for your valuable time. The first question for today is, how has Nepal-France relation evolved over years?
First of all, thank you for your invitation. I'm very honored to be invited today, and I would like to say good evening to all the listeners and the viewers. I would like to say that I have been here now for the last 3 years. As you said, I'm completing my tenure here, and I'm very lucky, I would say, because I could be here in Nepal at the moment of the 70th anniversary of bilateral relation between France and Nepal. So it was a great opportunity not only to commemorate these 70 years of relation, but also to celebrate it and try also to pave the way for the next 70 years, I would say. And so it was a great occasion to take stock of what had been done in the past and also to highlight a lot of important aspects of the bilateral relation, especially in the field of mountaineering, for example, but also in the field of economic cooperation and in the field also of people-to-people exchange. It was also a very important occasion to flag up the fact that France and Nepal, we share a lot of commonalities, we share the same values, we believe in democracy, we believe in human rights, we believe also in multilateralism, which is a peaceful resolution of conflict. So in international arena, we share a lot of things and we cooperate a lot. So that anniversary gave us the opportunity to highlight it and try also to move forwards and to create new opportunities for cooperation.
How do you evaluate Nepal's relation with France in the last 70 years?
I see that France and Nepal, we can be more aware of that commonalities, and we will develop much more bilateral dialogue. 3 years ago, we instituted a bilateral consultation mechanism at the level of the MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Foreign Secretary or the Joint Secretary. And so now we have this consultation on an annual basis, and I can say that it is very substantial, very interesting. I feel also that in the field of economic relation, our trade will develop, and more French companies will express interest towards Nepal and will come here to see what are the business opportunities, talk with the Nepali businessmen, and try to develop some business here, which could be mutually profitable for French and Nepali private sector. I have some relation with French companies, and it is very encouraging. And I'm sure in the future, thanks to the political stability and the investment-friendly position of the government, we will manage to develop it further.
Excellency, France is one of the members of G7 and it is one of the major players in international economy. So how do you see Nepal and France building their economic partnership here in Nepal?
France is ready, like some other EU member states, is ready to cooperate and to develop industrial and economic cooperation with Nepal in some very strategic and important field for the development of the country, especially in the field of infrastructure, telecommunication, also the technologies which allows to fill the digital gap between, for example, Kathmandu and some more remote areas. And all this French technology obviously can help to develop the country much more. But you know, I think that Nepal, the economic growth outside COVID times is very high between 6 and 7%. You have here big companies, big groups, very active, and which can also develop their relation with France. So I think that's, in fact, if both companies, both private sector, could know well at each other, better at each other, certainly they will find many opportunities to develop their business relations.
Tourism is the backbone of Nepal's economy. So how can France and Nepal work together in boosting this industry here in Nepal?
So first of all, we have normally more than 30,000 French tourists coming here. But besides this, which is much more important, is the fact that France and Nepal, we have in common the fact that we pay great importance of the role of tourism in the development and the economic activities. So Nepal was aiming to reach 2 million tourists a year, and France, we are aiming at 100 million tourists a year. So I think that the fact that it is for both of us a strategic sector should bring us to cooperate much more and to talk, to discuss about tourism and how, especially on a very, very practical way, how we can try to develop it, how we can try to diversify it, how we can bring more tourists, what kind of obstacle we have to get through, what kind of problems we have to avoid, what kind of mistakes also should be avoided, and also how we can cope with the issue of climate change and the impact of climate change on tourism, and which is very important also in the French Alps. So how we can also cope with the impact on environment of tourism. Obviously it has an impact of environment. So how we can take care of this. I think on many, many aspects we have to discuss more. And each time I could meet some professional in the field of tourism here in Nepal, whether I'd say the Ministry of Tourism or the Nepal Tourism Board, each time I invited them to come to France and visit France, visit their counterparts, talk, and see what we are doing, and also, and perhaps find some inspiration to develop more tourism here. And so I think the door is open, and when it will be possible, and I think it can be materialized.
Excellency, as you are aware, that the last visit by the French president was in 1983. Since then, the French president has visited India 7 times, our next door. How important is Nepal in France's foreign policy? Can we expect the high-level visit from France in coming days?
This is a very good question. Thank you so much. Yes, the last visit of the French president in Nepal was in 1983. And if you look at the outcome of this visit, it was really very interesting, very significant, because at that time we signed a lot of agreements about, for example, the protection of investment or the development of cultural and technical cooperation. So many, many projects went, let's say, after this visit. So I think that Nepal is important to France in some sectors. I would mention, for example, peacekeeping operation. It was mentioned in Nepali press a few weeks back. Nepal is now the second contributor to UN peacekeeping operation. It means that on the field, French soldiers and Nepali soldiers, they stand shoulder by shoulder, you know, in some different theater everywhere in the world, and sometimes in very, very dangerous places. So that's what I was saying, that we share some values, you know, on multilateralism. This is a concrete example. So that's the reason why we should develop a political dialogue, and that's also why I've been advocating in favor of a high official political visit to Nepal. Unfortunately, it couldn't take place during the 70th anniversary, and then we entered the COVID time. And so obviously I had to, let's say, to play down a little bit my ambitions. But I'm confident that when the circumstances will be gathered, and I'm sure that some French official will come to Nepal.
How is France coping with the COVID-19 pandemic? How can France support Nepal in fighting this pandemic?
First of all, I think this, for all countries, for all governments, this pandemic is a new issue. So I think that no one can give lesson to any country in the world how we should handle that pandemic, you see. And so France, we did our best to fight this pandemic in France. We had the first wave, the second wave, the third wave, and now we are entering the fourth wave. And I read the figures this morning, so we are above now 30,000 new cases a day, which is very, very significant. So we are doing our best in terms of social distancing, prevention measures, in terms also of treating the patients, and also in terms of vaccination. So, but this is not easy, but we are doing our best now. And this fourth wave seems affecting a lot the French population. How we try to help Nepal? France is one of the founding members of the COVAX facility. So this is how we channelize, let's say, all the vaccines that we provide to the world. So let's say a kind of common basket, which is this COVAX facility. So that's why we don't do it on a strictly bilateral way. So normally, let's say end of August, early September, another shipment of COVAX facility vaccine should come to Nepal. And as you know well, some countries like US, Japan, for example, they provided also some vaccine through the COVAX facility in July. So this is how we are proceeding. We brought also a shipment of medical equipment and supplies and protective equipment. It took place in June, if I'm correct. And so we brought here 7 tons of equipment. And quite soon we will bring also some spare parts and kits for some oxygen plants which are located in Nepali hospital, not only in Kathmandu but also in some provinces. So it will help this hospital to face the need, increasing need of oxygen for the patients in case this third wave occurs in coming weeks or months.
Over the years, France is one of the favorite destinations for Nepalese students. What kind of challenges are Nepalese students likely to face when they arrive at France? What would be your suggestions to students who are planning to study in France?
First of all, Nepalese students, they come to France to study in some specific field, especially, let's say, management, computer, engineering, hospitality, cuisine, for example. And for some of them also, obviously, literature or science. And so what are they facing? When they arrive in France, usually they are a little bit surprised by the cost of living. Cost of life is quite expensive. So I would say to the Nepalese students who want to go to France, first, please be careful, make sure that you have enough money for your everyday expenses, let's say, and accommodation fee and everything. Otherwise, you may face some difficulty. Some students, they believe that they can work in some restaurant, It's not so easy. It's not so easy. So it can bring something, but at least they have, they should calculate their own budget to make sure they have enough money for their, as I said, everyday expenses. Another issue is also the issue of language. Obviously, it's better to learn a little bit of French before going to France. And I would like to flag up the fact that we have here in Kathmandu the Alliance Française, which can provide, obviously, French language lesson, actually mainly online due to COVID, but not only online. And it's very efficient, so it can help and bring, some basic knowledge or more for the Nepalese students who want to go to France.
Excellency, you have spent almost 3 years here in Nepal. You might have unforgettable moments here in Nepal. Would you like to share your experience and thoughts as an ambassador in Nepal?
Yes, in fact, I have many fond memories about Nepal. I would like to say, first of all, is when we arrived in Nepal and I had to give my credential to the president, and we went in a caleche, horse carriage, to the presidential palace. It was really very surprising, amazing to have that kind of experience. Another one would be in a very different mood. In February last year, we went to Gokyo Lake. It was an event organized by Visit Nepal 2020. So I could attend events with, ice skater on Gokyo Lakes. It was an event to promote tourism in Nepal. It was really a very, very surprising, astonishing event. And also I can mention also the visit to France on Chamonix of Prime Minister Kepi Oli. When he visited France, he could meet the French Prime Minister at that time, Edouard Philippe, and he could go also to Chamonix. And I have fond memory also of the time we spent there, and I could really enjoy that visit. It was a historical visit, the first one of Nepali Prime Minister since 2001. And last but not least, let's say on a more personal touch, I had many opportunities to travel, especially to do some cycling around Kathmandu Valley and Kathmandu vicinity, and I really enjoy just to see how people are living and in their everyday life, and to see, let's say, the sceneries of everyday life and also of the nature in Kathmandu area. It was really a great experience for me.
Before wrapping up, do you have any message to the people of Nepal, or anything you'd like to share to the upcoming French ambassador to Kathmandu?
So to the people of Nepal, I would like to say thank you. Thank you. I would like to express my gratitude for 3 years of warm welcoming, 3 years of hospitality, and 3 years during which I could really feel, I could touch upon the qualities, the talents of Nepali people. I could feel how they are resilient, how they are strong, how they can face difficulties while always being in a positive mood. And it was a great lesson for me to see that, And I think that French people could learn a lot from Nepali people in that regard. And I know some students, they study between 6 and 9 in the morning, and then they go to work to pay their tuition fee, you see. So I think that's really great. These people, they are strong people. And I think they have a lot of assets, a lot of talents to take the best from the globalization, to take the best from the global economy. And young people here, they are so smart, so talented. I think really, yes, they should be very positive, and and they should really take over. And they have a lot of qualities. So that's what I would like to say. And to my successor, it's difficult for me to give any recommendation to my successor, but I would like to tell him, be positive, come here and meet the people, go to the street, walk in the street, talk with people, leave Kathmandu, go to the provinces, try to feel, to touch, how people are living, try to enter more deeply into the culture of the people, the way of living of the people, and try to enter into the complexity of that society, which is very interesting. And I think in terms of culture, religion, tradition, but also global exposure, we can learn a lot. We can learn a lot from Nepal and Nepali people. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Excellency, for your time. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you for your invitation. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.